Success isn't something you stumble into. It isn't given. It's not passed down. It's not luck, chance, or magic. It's earned, built from the inside out, with intention, discipline, and unwavering principle. True success doesn't show up for the impatient or the entitled. It arrives for those who become worthy of it. You want real success? Then understand this. It's not about chasing the world. It's about becoming someone the world chases. And that journey begins with mastering the fundamentals, not tricks, not hacks, not shortcuts, but eternal truths that never stop working. The first, mindset. Because before you ever change your life, you must change your thoughts. Every action you take or don't take is born from your belief system. If your mind is filled with fear, you will hesitate. If it's filled with doubt, you will sabotage. But if it's filled with vision, clarity, courage, you become dangerous. You walk differently. You speak differently. You see opportunities others miss. You don't beg life for permission. You build momentum from the inside out. Because success doesn't start with doing, it starts with believing. And belief isn't some empty mantra. Belief is a discipline. It's built by guarding your thoughts, shaping your inner dialogue, and feeding your mind with the truths that make you strong, focused, and unshakable. The second fundamental, clarity. Most people are not failing, they're foggy. They're busy, but aimless. Productive, but misaligned. You cannot hit a target you can't see. And you cannot grow toward a future you haven't defined. Clarity isn't a feeling, it's a decision. Who do you want to become? What do you want to build? What matters to you so deeply that you're willing to suffer for it? That's clarity. It eliminates distraction. It kills comparison. It gives your energy a purpose, your schedule a reason, your sacrifices a direction, and with that direction, you become unstoppable. Third, vision. Success is a future born in the imagination of the present. If you can't see it, you'll never seize it. Vision is your internal compass. It guides your yes, protects your no, and fuels you when nothing seems to be working. But vision isn't just daydreaming. Vision is vivid, specific, real. It's the ability to close your eyes and see the life you are building with your choices. Not your wishes, not your emotions, your choices. Vision pulls you forward when motivation dies. Vision makes your sacrifices sacred. Vision turns discipline from something heavy into something holy. Next comes purpose. Because without purpose, success is shallow. It becomes numbers, status, a game of appearances. But with purpose, everything you do becomes charged. You stop just working for money, you start building meaning. You don't just rise for applause, you rise to contribute. Purpose gives you power when pressure hits. It turns fatigue into focus. It turns obstacles into teachers. It transforms your story into fuel. And when your purpose is clear, you begin to attract others not because of what you have, but because of who you are becoming. And when you live with purpose, you ignite the fifth fundamental, discipline. Because dreams without discipline are just illusions. Talk without execution is just noise. Potential without structure is just wasted energy. Discipline is what separates the ones who hope from the ones who build. It's not flashy, it's not glamorous, it's not viral, but it's everything. It's the quiet contract you sign with yourself in the dark, the one that says, I will do what is required. Long after the mood I made the commitment in is gone. Discipline is what wakes you up before the world. It's what keeps you grounded when life shakes. It's what silences your excuses and turns intentions into reality. And here's the truth. You don't need more motivation. You need better habits. You need systems so clear, routines so automatic, and standards so non-negotiable that success becomes a byproduct of how you live, not a target you chase. The sixth, action. Because nothing changes until you move. Knowledge is not power applied. Knowledge is. You can read every book, take every course, attend every seminar, and still stay stuck if you don't move your feet. Action is the cure for fear. It is the antidote to confusion. It's the proof that you believe in what you say. Most people wait for clarity before they act, but the truth is clarity is found in motion. The doing is what refines the direction. You don't figure it all out before you start. You figure it out by starting. Action builds confidence. Action builds resilience. Action turns potential into performance. The world doesn't reward ideas, it rewards execution. So while others plan and pause and prepare forever, you must move with urgency. Because every moment you wait, someone else is out there building what you were born to do. Then comes the seventh, gratitude. Because gratitude isn't weakness. It's amplification. It turns pressure into perspective. It grounds your ambition in appreciation. It keeps you from becoming a prisoner of progress. Because without gratitude, success will always feel empty. You'll climb the ladder, hit the number, win the trophy, and still feel hollow. But when you lead with gratitude, everything changes. You start seeing lessons in the losses. You start celebrating progress, not just perfection. You stop needing more to feel like enough. And here's the paradox. Grateful people attract more abundance not because they chase it, but because they honor what they already have. Gratitude multiplies your joy. It multiplies your peace. And in a world addicted to more, you become someone who wins from a place of enoughness, and that's power. And now we arrive at the eighth fundamental, the one that separates those who plateau from those who transcend adaptability. Because nothing stays the same. The market changes. The culture shifts. The rules evolve. And if you don't adapt, you don't survive. You become a monument to what used to work. Adaptability isn't about reacting. It's about responding with intelligence. It's about letting go of ego, of comfort, of the way things have always been. It's about updating your strategies without abandoning your values. The adaptable win not because they're the fastest, but because they're the most fluid. They don't resist change. They dance with it. They use pressure as information, failure as feedback, chaos as a compass. And every time the world throws a new challenge, they lean in and ask, what is this trying to teach me that success never could? Because true success isn't rigid. It's resilient. It moves, bends, adjusts, but never breaks. And finally, the ninth, the crown of all foundations, lifelong learning. Because no matter how high you climb, there is always another level. And those who stop learning, stop growing. Those who stop growing start dying. Success doesn't belong to those who know everything. It belongs to those who remain teachable. The greatest leaders are also the greatest students. The hungriest minds create the richest lives. Because learning isn't a phase. It's not something you do when you feel behind. It's something you do because you want to stay ahead. It's a commitment to humility, a devotion to curiosity, a refusal to let your past wins lull you into present ignorance. You don't read books to sound smart, you read to sharpen your edge. You don't seek mentors because you're weak. You seek them because you know you can be stronger. Every insight you collect becomes another tool, another angle, another way to expand your thinking, deepen your wisdom, and multiply your impact. And when these 9 foundations are in place, when your mindset is mastered, your belief is built, your clarity is non-negotiable, your vision is vivid, your purpose is burning, your discipline is dialed in, your action is relentless, your gratitude is rooted, your adaptability is alive, and your learning is unending, then success is no longer a mystery. It's no longer a question of if. It becomes inevitable. Not because the world suddenly made it easier, but because you became someone who doesn't need the world to make it easier. You became someone who creates their own momentum, their own clarity, their own breakthroughs. You became someone who didn't wait for success. You built the foundation that made success chase you. And that is true power. That is true success. And it's yours the moment you decide to live these fundamentals daily, fully, and without excuse. Leadership is not a title. It's not a role, a rank, or a position. It is a responsibility. It is a burden. It is a sacred trust. And in today's world, noisy, confused, overwhelmed leadership is no longer optional. It is required, not just for CEOs, not just for public figures, but for you, for your family, for your circle, for your calling, for your future. Because someone is watching you. Someone is learning from your silence. Someone is modeling their next move off the way you handle this moment. And if you don't lead, someone weaker than you will take your place, and the cost of that compromise will be paid in generations. Leadership is the art of carrying weight that doesn't belong to you, so others can stand taller. It's the practice of walking ahead through fire, through pressure, through confusion, so others can walk safely behind you. But here's the truth, no one tells you. Before you can lead anyone, you must lead yourself. And most people can't. Not because they're bad, but because they've never been taught how to command their own mind, their own emotion, their own vision. They've been taught to manage, not lead. To react, not rise. To conform, not call themselves higher. And that's where this begins. Not with power, but with principle. Because great leaders don't rise on personality. They rise on personal philosophy. You must develop a way of thinking that is stronger than your moods, stronger than your insecurities, stronger than the noise that will come. And it will come to test every fiber of your conviction. The first idea you must accept. Your mindset is your kingdom. Rule it or be ruled. Every thought is a seed, and leadership is the discipline of planting the right ones, pulling the weeds early, protecting the soil from the floods of fear, the drought of doubt, and the toxic voices that don't belong in your field. You cannot lead others into clarity if you dwell in confusion. You cannot call others into courage if your own mindset is run by cowardice. You must become the guardian of your inner world, because how you think is how you lead. Next, belief is the spark that ignites all movement. But belief doesn't just happen, it's built. You do not start with confidence. You start with a decision to act, to step, to speak, even when your knees shake, even when your voice trembles, even when your hands sweat. You do it anyway. And on the other side of that courage, belief begins to form. But belief is fragile in the beginning. You must protect it. You must surround it with discipline, reinforce it with focus, fuel it with vision. Because once belief is solid, your presence changes. People feel you before they hear you. They sense that you know where you're going. And they follow not because of your charisma, but because of your clarity. So build that belief daily, with reps, with decisions, with alignment. And now you understand this. Clarity is not a luxury for leaders, it's your compass. If you don't know what matters most, you will be a slave to what matters now. Urgency will override legacy. Reaction will override reason. And you will drown in distraction, one shallow yes at a time. But clarity silences the noise. It turns down the volume on opinions. It centers you in purpose. It gives your actions weight. Clarity is a leadership advantage. It multiplies your time. It deepens your energy. It makes your no stronger and your yes sharper. And from that clarity flows the most powerful force on earth, vision. Because leadership without vision is just movement without meaning. But vision pulls people into the future. It gives them something to rise for, something to sacrifice for, something bigger than themselves. Your vision should scare you a little and stretch you a lot. It should wake you up early and keep you up late. It should be so vivid in your mind that it becomes magnetic in your presence. And here's what most don't get. Vision isn't about what you see. It's about what you refuse to unsee. Once it's in you, you cannot go back to normal. You cannot go back to average. You cannot unsee what you know you're called to build. And when that vision locks into your spirit, it demands the next trait, purpose. Because vision is what you want to create, but purpose is why you must. Purpose is your anchor in the storm. When everything is shaking, when pressure mounts, when the rewards seem distant and the pain feels close, purpose keeps you planted. Leaders with purpose do not panic. They press in. They get quiet. They reconnect to the reason. And then they move with even greater force. Purpose gives suffering meaning. And when suffering has meaning, it becomes sacred. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start declaring, this is happening for what I was made to carry. And to carry it well, you must have discipline. Because discipline is the gatekeeper of greatness. It is the invisible thread that holds every part of leadership together. You cannot lead with inconsistency. You cannot inspire with chaos. You cannot demand excellence from others when you permit excuses in yourself. Discipline is not about restriction. It is about alignment. It's about showing up when it's hard, and especially when it's boring. It's about doing what's required, not what's convenient. It's about making your standards stronger than your moods. Because moods are fleeting, but missions are eternal. And leadership is not about how you feel in a moment. It's about what you're building over a lifetime. Discipline is how you protect your vision from the sabotage of your lesser self. It's how you show your mind who's in charge. It's how you create trust, first with yourself, then with the world. And once that trust is in place, your next move is action. Nothing reveals a leader faster than what they do when the plan fails. Because plans will fail. Strategies will change. But the spirit of execution must remain. The world doesn't follow your vision, it follows your footsteps, your calendar, your commitments, your consistency. You don't need to talk about it, you need to move. Your results will speak louder than your resume ever could. Action doesn't wait for motivation. It creates momentum even in uncertainty, even in resistance, even in fear. Because leadership is not about being certain all the time. It's about being courageous when others are frozen. And courage, when compounded daily, leads you into the most transformative trait of all. Gratitude. Gratitude is the fuel of perspective. It is what keeps leaders humble, grounded, and awake. Because when the weight gets heavy, and it will, you need something to keep your heart alive. Gratitude is that oxygen. It reminds you that you don't have to lead. You get to. You get to carry this responsibility. You get to shape lives. You get to build something that didn't exist before you said yes. And that kind of gratitude is what protects you from bitterness, from burnout, from becoming the very thing you once stood against. Because gratitude doesn't make you soft, it makes you sustainable. It gives you eyes to see the miracle in the mundane, to find meaning in the mess, to lead with joy in the middle of pressure. And when gratitude flows through your veins, you gain one of the most underrated powers of leadership, adaptability. Because real leadership is not rigid. It's responsive, not reactive responsive. A true leader can bend without breaking, can pivot without panic, can evolve without losing identity. Because the mission is fixed, but the method can change. And the moment you cling too tightly to the method, you miss the miracle. Adaptability is the humility to say, this isn't working, but I'm still called. It's the agility to shift while staying solid, to dance with the unknown while anchoring to your values. Because chaos doesn't kill leaders. Inflexibility does. And when you become fluid without losing focus, you enter the final level. Resilience. Resilience is not just getting back up, it's getting back up wiser. With more poise, more fire, more resolve. Because every fall refined you. Every hit deepened you. Every delay taught you where the cracks were and how to reinforce them. Resilience is what separates loud leaders from lasting ones. And when you lead with resilience, you don't fear the storm. You become the storm. You bring stability to the unstable. You become a calm center in the chaos. You become someone others can lean on, not because you're perfect, but because you're proven. And through all of this, you never stop learning. Because the best leaders are never finished. They remain students, curious, hungry, open. They study their failures. They mine their scars for wisdom. They sit in rooms with people who challenge their ego, and they listen. Because a true leader knows the moment I stop learning, I stop leading. And so you learn, you stretch, you evolve. You upgrade not just your strategies, but your spirit. And in that constant evolution, you discover the truth. Leadership is not something you do. It is who you become. Then we rise to the climax, not with noise, but with unshakable presence. Because this is where real leadership lives. Not in titles, not in trophies, but in the quiet, consistent, sacred integrity of who you choose to be when no one's watching. Leadership is not about being followed. It's about being worth following. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't flinch in adversity, who doesn't fold when tested, who doesn't drift when things get dark but becomes the light. The kind of person who shows up every day not for applause but because they made a vow to never again betray their purpose. Because leadership is a vow to rise, even when it's hard, a vow to stay grounded, even when success comes fast, a vow to speak truth, even when silence would be safer, a vow to go first, especially when everyone else hesitates. It's easy to look like a leader when things are easy, but the world doesn't need more easy leaders. The world needs war-tested visionaries who know how to carry weight with grace, people who have been through something and still stand tall, people who have been rejected, overlooked, broken, misunderstood, and still choose to build. Because that's the leader's path. It is not paved with comfort. It is built through calluses, through lonely nights, through hard decisions, through repeated moments of choosing to become, even when it hurts. You will be judged. You will be doubted. You will be misunderstood. And you will be tempted to shrink. Don't. Rise. Hold the standard. Keep the fire. And lead anyway. Because someone needs you to. Not someone far away, someone near. A child watching your routine. A friend waiting for your strength. A generation aching for an example of what real leadership looks like in a world addicted to shortcuts. Be that example. Not just with your words, with your walk, with your habits, with your energy, with your unshakable identity. Because if you stay true to it long enough, the world will notice. But more importantly, you will notice. You will look in the mirror and know, I didn't quit. I didn't run. I didn't sell out. I led. And that knowing, that quiet, unshakable inner knowing, that is your reward. Not the fame, not the followers, not the status. The man or woman you became in the process. A leader, a builder, a protector, a standard. The storm did not take you. It revealed you. And now the world knows what you've known all along. You were born to lead. Not someday, not maybe, not when it's easy. Now, today, this is your time. So go lead. Not perfectly, but powerfully. Not for attention, but for impact. Lead like your name will echo for decades. Lead like the future is watching. Because it is. And now you are ready. You already know what needs to be done. You already feel the fire flickering in your gut. You already hear the whisper at night. There is more inside you. This isn't a matter of knowledge. It's not a matter of intelligence. It's not about waiting for one more podcast, one more book, one more sign. This is about execution. This is about courage. This is about whether you will live another day trapped in delay or break free and become what you were born to be. Because your destiny doesn't arrive by invitation. It arrives when you stand up, look your fear in the face and declare, enough. Enough waiting. Enough wondering. Enough wasting time asking for permission to be powerful. The clock is ticking, and here is the brutal truth. Most people will die with their greatness buried under comfort. Not because they lacked opportunity, but because they refused to move. They convinced themselves they had time. They told themselves tomorrow would be better. They clung to safety like it was salvation, never realizing it was a slow death in disguise. But you feel the urgency. You're done pretending that your ideas can wait. You're done putting off the conversations you need to have. You're done shrinking to fit the fears of people who've already given up on their own potential. You feel it in your chest, don't you? The tension between who you are and who you could be. The friction between where you stand and where you know you're meant to go. That tension is not anxiety. It's potential, pounding on the walls of your comfort zone. And it's not going to stop. It will keep whispering, keep pushing, keep stirring, until either you act or it dies inside you. And nothing is more tragic than a soul that silences itself out of convenience. You weren't born to repeat the same cycle year after year. You weren't built for routine mediocrity. You weren't designed to survive. You were built to build, to break through, to initiate movements, to speak, create, lead, ignite, heal, influence. But nothing happens until you act. The people who change their lives are not the ones with the most talent. They're the ones who finally decide that now is the time. Not when it's perfect. Not when they feel ready. Not when the critics stop. Now. Because now is all you ever had. Now is where momentum lives. Now is the only doorway to a future that looks different from your past. And here's what they won't tell you. You're not afraid of failure. You're afraid of visibility. You're afraid of being seen trying. You're afraid of giving your best and watching someone not clap. But the applause was never the goal. The alignment is. Living in a way that feels like truth. Acting on the whisper before it turns into a scream. Moving with urgency, not because you're scared, but because you're called. And if you're called, then comfort is the enemy. Because comfort is what happens when your dreams die of dehydration. When your spirit grows soft under the weight of delayed decisions. But if you want a life that breathes fire, you must become the kind of person who acts, decides, moves, builds before it's guaranteed, leaps before the net appears, speaks before they're celebrated, leads before they feel like a leader. And in doing so, you shift time itself. You stretch what's possible. You collapse timelines. You bend reality to match your vision because you refuse to wait. You made a choice. You declared with your energy, with your calendar, with your habits, with your voice, the time to act is now. Because the moment you act truly, unapologetically, without dragging your fears behind you, the world takes shape differently. You start to see things through the lens of ownership, not obstacles. You start to wake up with direction instead of distraction. You stop waiting for energy because action becomes your energy. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop explaining your inaction. You stop calling it patience when it's really paralysis. And that's the real tragedy. Most people think they're being strategic when they're really just scared, afraid of rejection, afraid of judgment, afraid of looking foolish. But leadership, real leadership, is the willingness to look foolish in pursuit of something meaningful. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail publicly. You're going to outgrow the people who want you to stay small. Good. That's the tax you pay for progress. That's the toll at the gate of growth. You don't get to level up for free. But here's the reward. The more you act, the less you fear failure. The more you move, the less you need motivation. The more you stretch, the more your capacity explodes. You don't become fearless. You just get so familiar with fear that it loses its power. You walk beside it now. You don't run from it. You don't beg it to go away. You look it in the eye and say, you don't drive this life. I do. That shift changes everything because now your habits are different. Your posture is different. Your voice doesn't shake when you speak because you've earned the right to believe in your direction, not because it's perfect, but because you started, and most people never start. They keep sharpening the pencil and never write the sentence. They keep researching and never launch. They keep dreaming and never wake up and move. But not you, not anymore, because now you know all your power lives in the present moment. All your potential is waiting on the other side of one committed action. And once you act, everything begins to accelerate. People start to notice. Not because you shouted, but because your energy shifted. You walk in with a different frequency. You lead with quiet certainty. You no longer talk about change. You are change. That kind of momentum can't be faked. It can't be bought. It can't be taught in a course. It can only be earned by those who refuse to delay their destiny. So here it is, the choice. Will you keep repeating the patterns of hesitation? Or will you rise and start rewriting your life in real time? Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. Now is the only moment that belongs to you. Now is where your power lives. Now is the birthplace of everything you say you want. So take it. Own it. Step into it. The time to act is now. And it will never be this clear again. Then stand tall, because this is the moment where everything ignites. This is where you stop chasing inspiration and become it. Where you stop asking the world to change and command it with your example. Because the time to act is not just now, it's right now. Before the doubt returns. Before the distractions pull you under. Before the noise creeps in and drowns your fire. Act now. Because the version of you you're becoming doesn't live in later. They live in decisions made in the fire of now. Not someday. Not when it's easier. Not after you feel ready. Now. Because every second you hesitate is a second you trade away the life you say you want. Every pause becomes a pattern. Every delay becomes a habit. And before you know it, the life you were born to live becomes just a memory of what could have been. But not for you. Not here. Not today. Today, you break the cycle. Today, you interrupt the story. Today, you stop telling yourself why it won't work and start working like it must. You stop overanalyzing. You stop explaining. You stop doubting your instinct, your power, your path, and you move. You act. You initiate. Because leaders don't wait. Champions don't ask for consensus. Creators don't wait to be discovered. They act until they're undeniable. So go build it. Go write it. Go say it. Go start it. Go lead it. Go launch it. Go live it. Whatever it is, move toward it like your life depends on it. Because it does. The life you could have had, the person you were meant to be, they're waiting on you to act. And the clock won't stop ticking. So, stop waiting for clarity and create it through commitment. Stop waiting for momentum and make it with movement. Stop waiting for the path to be paved and walk until you leave a trail. And when it gets hard, good. That's the price. That's the signal. That's the proof you're on the path. This is what transformation looks like. Ugly, awkward, lonely, powerful. Because nothing legendary is born in comfort. It's born in moments like this where you look at your life and say, I will no longer delay my destiny. You won't be perfect. You won't get it right every time. But you will be in motion. You will be aligned. You will be powerful. And in that power, you will remember who you've always been. A builder, a leader, a warrior, a vessel of fire, a mover of mountains, a force that refuses to fold. You don't need more time. You need more urgency. You don't need more permission. You need more courage. You don't need the world to believe in you. You need to act like you already do. And if you can carry that energy, that decision, that intensity, that non-negotiable action, the world will have no choice but to move for you. Not because you hoped, because you acted. And you acted with conviction, with vision, with no way back. Because once you truly decide, there is no reverse gear. Only forward. Only fire. Only now. The time to act is not tomorrow. It is not when the stars align. It is not when fear leaves. It is not when they understand. It is now. It is now. It is now. Move. Build. Lead. Begin. ignite, because the time to act was always now.